Why Bronn turned on Tyrion and Jaime during the Lannister Confrontation. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we've got some truly surprising and heartwarming news from the WWE Universe. The Unthinkable Betrayal. Voiceover tone, urgent, dramatic. In a world where loyalty is rare and friendship even rarer, Bronn of the Blackwater seemed like an exception. A sellsword who'd fought side by side with Tyrion Lannister at the Battle of Blackwater. A man who had saved Jaime Lannister's life more than once. And yet, when the moment came, Bronn drew his crossbow and aimed it at the very man who had once called him friend. This is the story of why Bronn turned on Tyrion and Jaime during the Lannister Confrontation. A betrayal rooted in gold, survival, and the harsh realities of the Game of Thrones. The origins of Bronn's loyalties. Before we can understand why Bronn turned, we need to understand how he ever stood beside Tyrion and Jaime in the first place. Bronn wasn't a knight in shining armor. He wasn't bound by oaths or family honor. He was a sellsword, and like all sellswords, his loyalty was only as strong as the coin he was paid. Tyrion Lannister first met Bronn under unusual circumstances in the Vale of Arryn. Accused of murder, Tyrion faced trial by combat. Few dared to fight for him. Bronn, however, stepped forward, not for honor, but for the promise of gold. His victory won Tyrion his freedom, and the two began an unlikely partnership. Tyrion, shrewd and sharp-tongued, saw value in Bronn's ruthlessness. Bronn saw a man with deep pockets. When Tyrion became Hand of the King, Bronn was made commander of the City Watch. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement. Bronn got power and pay. Tyrion got a dangerous friend in a city full of enemies. Jaime Lannister's bond with Bronn came later, forged in the fires of personal danger. When Jaime lost his sword hand, Bronn became his trainer, pushing him to fight again despite his disability. The two shared a soldier's humor, an irreverence toward nobility, and a willingness to speak truths others wouldn't. On paper, Bronn's friendship with the Lannisters seemed strong, but in truth, it was always transactional. The Lannister downfall. By the time of the confrontation, the political winds in Westeros had shifted dramatically. The Lannisters were no longer unshakable rulers. Cersei's grip on the Iron Throne had been challenged, the Tyrell alliance shattered, and the Targaryen forces were closing in. Tyrion, once Hand of the King, was now the hand of Daenerys Targaryen, and Jaime had abandoned Cersei's side to join him. From Bronn's perspective, the stability that had once surrounded the Lannisters was gone. The two brothers he knew best were now essentially fugitives from Cersei's wrath. Cersei herself was no fool. She knew Bronn could be swayed by gold, but she also knew how to leverage fear. By this point, she had likely made Bronn an offer he couldn't refuse and a threat he couldn't ignore. The offer and the threat. In Game of Thrones Season 8, we see it play out. Cersei gives Bronn a crossbow, the very weapon Tyrion had used to kill their father, Tywin Lannister. The symbolism was clear, and the instructions even clearer. Kill Tyrion and Jaime. The reward? Riverrun, one of the great castles of Westeros. A far cry from the sellsword's tent Bronn had once called home. But here's the crucial point. In Westeros, an offer like that isn't just business. It's a line in the sand. Refusal would mean making an enemy of the queen, an enemy who would not hesitate to have him quietly killed. Bronn was being cornered. Accept, and you gain wealth beyond measure. Refuse, and you might not live long enough to regret it. Bronn's personality, loyalty versus survival. To understand Bronn's choice, we must look at the core of his character. From the moment we meet him, Bronn is a man who believes in two things. 1. Gold buys loyalty, and loyalty is only as real as the gold behind it. 2. Survival comes before friendship. When Tyrion once asked him hypothetically if he'd kill a friend for enough money, Bronn didn't hesitate. It would depend on the friend. This is not a man driven by moral codes. This is a man driven by cost-benefit analysis. And by the time of the Lannister confrontation, the costs of standing by Tyrion and Jaime were rising fast, foreshadowing the betrayal. Bronn's turn didn't come out of nowhere. The seeds had been planted long before. Battle of Blackwater payback. Bronn fought valiantly for Tyrion, but was never truly given the lordship or fortune he might have expected afterward. Tyrion rewarded him, yes, but in Bronn's mind, perhaps not enough. Marriage to Lolly Stokeworth. Jaime arranged this marriage to give Bronn a castle and title, but it came with political baggage and was only as secure as Lannister power. Tyrion's disappearance. When Tyrion fled Westeros after killing Tywin, Bronn lost his most lucrative patron for years. That absence mattered. The rise of Cersei's paranoia. Anyone close to her brothers became a target. Bronn was too smart not to see the writing on the wall. Every step along the way, Bronn was reminded that in the Game of Thrones, friendships were temporary, but enemies could be permanent. The confrontation. The actual confrontation between Bronn, Tyrion, and Jaime is loaded with tension. Bronn doesn't sneak in like an assassin. He kicks in the door, weapon in hand, making his intentions known. This isn't a stealth kill, it's a power move. He wants them to know exactly why he's there and what's at stake. He lays it out plainly. Cersei wants them dead. She's paying him handsomely to do it. And yet, he doesn't kill them on the spot. Why? Because Bronn is still weighing his options. Killing Tyrion and Jaime would make him rich, but it would also end any chance of further profit from them. Tyrion, ever the negotiator, seizes on this, promising Bronn a greater reward than Cersei is offering. This is where Bronn's pragmatism shines. He's not loyal to Cersei any more than he was loyal to Tyrion or Jaime. He's loyal to the deal that benefits him most. In the end, he doesn't kill them, but the trust between them is shattered. The message is clear. Bronn is no longer a friend. He's a free agent, and anyone could be his next target. Why Bronn chose this path? Bronn's decision to turn on Tyrion and Jaime came down to three interconnected reasons. 1. Self-preservation. Cersei's threat was real. Refusing her could mean death. 2. Opportunism. Riverrun was a prize worth risking everything for. 3. Consistency of character. Bronn had always said he'd fight for whoever paid him best. In this moment, that was Cersei. What makes the betrayal sting is that Tyrion and Jaime had both convinced themselves that Bronn was more than just a sellsword, that shared battles and personal bonds had forged something deeper. But Bronn had never lied about who he was. If they were surprised, it was because they chose to believe in a version of him that didn't exist. The fallout and legacy. After the confrontation, Bronn's role in the story changes. He's no longer an ally in the wings. He's an unpredictable wild card. Tyrion and Jaime know they can't fully trust him again. Yet Bronn's survival instinct once again proves correct. By aligning himself with whichever side ultimately wins, he ensures that, when the dust settles, he remains standing and richer than before. In the grand scheme of Westeros politics, Bronn's betrayal is small compared to the mass treacheries committed by great houses.